September 26, 1983. The Cold War was at one of its most dangerous points. The United States and the Soviet Union possessed enough nuclear weapons to destroy humanity many times over. Tensions were rising. Trust was disappearing. And both sides feared that the other might strike first. Then, in the middle of the night, a warning appeared on a Soviet military computer. The system reported that the United States had launched a nuclear missile. It reported another, and another, and another. According to the computer, nuclear war had begun. The Soviet Union had only minutes to respond. One wrong decision could trigger a global catastrophe. A catastrophe that might kill hundreds of millions of people, perhaps even billions. Yet the fate of the world would ultimately depend on a single man. A man who chose to trust his instincts over the machines. His name was Stanislav Petrov. And this is the story of the mistake that nearly started World War III. To understand what happened that night, we first need to understand the world of 1983. The Cold War had divided the planet into two opposing camps. On one side stood the United States and its allies. On the other stood the Soviet Union and its allies. For decades, both sides had competed for power, influence, and military superiority. But unlike previous rivalries in history, this one carried a terrifying possibility: nuclear war. By the early 1980s, both nations possessed thousands of nuclear weapons. Entire cities could disappear in minutes. Countries could be devastated in hours. Human civilization itself was at risk. And tensions were growing worse. Earlier that month, Soviet forces had shot down a civilian airliner after mistaking it for a spy aircraft. The incident increased fears on both sides. Leaders worried that conflict might be approaching. Military forces remained on high alert. The atmosphere was filled with suspicion. The world was already nervous. Then came the night of September 26th. Deep inside a secret Soviet command center, Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov was on duty. His job was simple: monitor the Soviet early warning system. If the United States launched a nuclear attack, the system would detect it, and Soviet leaders would be informed immediately. Just after midnight, an alarm suddenly sounded. Petrov looked at the screen. The warning was clear. An American missile launch had been detected. The system classified the threat as real. For a moment, everything stopped. If the report was correct, the Soviet Union was under nuclear attack. Standard procedure required immediate reporting. Military leaders would have only minutes to decide how to respond. The pressure was enormous. Then something strange happened. The system reported a second missile, then a third, then a fourth, then a fifth. According to the computer, 5 American nuclear missiles were heading toward the Soviet Union. The countdown had begun. At first glance, the situation seemed obvious. The computers detected missiles. The alarms were active. The warning system appeared confident. Yet Petrov felt uneasy. Something didn't make sense. If the United States intended to launch a nuclear first strike, why send only 5 missiles? A real attack would likely involve hundreds, perhaps thousands. The numbers felt wrong. The pattern felt wrong. The entire situation felt wrong. But there was a problem. Petrov couldn't be certain. And uncertainty during a nuclear crisis is terrifying. If he ignored a genuine attack, the Soviet Union might lose valuable time to respond. But if he reported a false attack, the consequences could be catastrophic. One decision stood between peace and disaster. Inside the command center, tension filled the room. Every second mattered. The alarms continued. The computer insisted that missiles were coming. Military doctrine demanded action. Petrov had to make a choice: trust the machine, or trust his judgment. He later described the pressure as overwhelming. The responsibility was almost impossible to comprehend. Around him, officers waited. The Soviet leadership waited. The clock was ticking. A wrong decision could begin a chain reaction that nobody could stop. Nuclear missiles could launch. Retaliation could follow. Entire nations could vanish. And there would be no turning back. For several agonizing minutes, Petrov analyzed the situation. Then he made his decision. Petrov concluded that the warning was false. Despite everything the computers were telling him, he reported the alert as a malfunction. It was an extraordinary gamble. If he was wrong, history would remember him as the officer who ignored a nuclear attack. If he was right, the world would never know how close it came to disaster. The waiting continued. Minutes passed. No missiles appeared. No explosions occurred. No attack arrived. Slowly, the truth became clear. The warning system had made a mistake. The United States had not launched any missiles. Nuclear war had never begun. The computer was wrong. And humanity had narrowly avoided a potentially catastrophic misunderstanding. Investigators later searched for answers. How could one of the world's most important military systems make such a dangerous mistake? The cause turned out to be surprisingly simple. Sunlight. Under specific conditions, sunlight reflecting off clouds created patterns that confused Soviet satellites. The system interpreted those reflections as missile launches. What appeared to be incoming nuclear weapons was actually a rare combination of sunlight and cloud formations. A natural phenomenon. Yet that small error nearly triggered one of history's greatest disasters. The event exposed a frightening reality. Even advanced technology can fail. Computers can make mistakes. Sensors can misinterpret data. And during periods of extreme tension, small errors can have enormous consequences. For years, Stanislav Petrov's actions remained largely unknown. The incident was classified. The public never heard the story. But as details emerged decades later, many people reached the same conclusion. His decision may have prevented nuclear war. Historians continue debating exactly what might have happened if he had reported the attack differently. No one can know for certain. But many believe the risks were terrifyingly real. At a moment when fear, suspicion, and technology all pointed toward catastrophe, one individual remained calm. One individual questioned the evidence. One individual refused to rush to judgment. That choice may have changed history. The incident remains relevant today, because it reveals how fragile peace can be. Wars do not always begin because leaders want them. Sometimes misunderstandings play a role. Sometimes technology fails. Sometimes people make mistakes. History often focuses on great battles and famous victories. But some of the most important moments are the disasters that never happened. The crises that were avoided, the decisions that prevented catastrophe, and the people whose actions remained hidden for years. Stanislav Petrov became one of those people, a man who faced one of the most dangerous decisions in human history, and chose correctly. Today, most people have never heard his name, yet millions of lives may have depended on what he did that night. A false alarm, a computer error, a few minutes of uncertainty, and one decision that helped prevent a global disaster. Because on September 26, 1983, the world stood closer to nuclear war than most people realized. And thanks to one man, it stepped back from the edge.